Alright, so I just broke camp from the Park Lake Garden site at Lake Shetek State Park, and I'm just prepping the gear that I'm going to use for the hike, and I'm also going to follow up on some scouts, kind of do boots on the ground scouts from when we drove around earlier yesterday. So I'm going to load up my assault pack here with the gear that I think I should have, and I'm going to leave the ruck in the vehicle. So here I got some food and some medicine, first aid supplies, extra sanitizer, alcohol, Gorilla Tape, and that's all for in there. Then we're gonna add some rain over gear action. Rain over jacket, rain over pants, and some backup TP for blowing, not wiping. Some water, that's full. I do have a base layer balaclava, which based on the temperature and the wind, I'm probably going to be wearing this the whole time. But if I start sweating, I'll just take it off and rock the tank. That should be good. I am forsaking several things like a multi-tool, and there's all types of other stuff you could be bringing, but like a headlamp. But I'm gonna keep it at that. I'm gonna nurse this coffee one last time before we head out. And first part of this hike is going to be on the Webster Island by the Webster Slough, and that's the entrance point is right over there. As always, we're going to be using the Avenza Maps app. We're at Lake Shetek State Park. So Webster Island, we're going to start right here. Then we're going to go up and around. Then we're going to come back. I think we're going to head towards the Bluebird Trail, which is straight down that way. We're going to make our way towards the campground area. Now Webster Island is kind of like a smaller version of Loon Island, and I would recommend the Loon Island one. I did that last year, so we're going to check this area out. I just want to call out this private property here. It's really weird. It's a really weird, like, gerrymandered area right here where it leads up into here, this little private property area. It's very strange. So I noticed how weird that was when I was camping last night. I thought I heard someone walking around my tent. It sounded just like a human. But there was a lot of animals too around there. I got out and looked around, saw a lot of eye shine. But very strange. Just wanted to call that out. So it looks like this is a road. It's not a trail. This is a road leading to the trail. It's a nice gray, windy day. It was like this when I hiked here in April of 2024. Very windy, very gray, essentially desolate. Last night when I got here though, the wind really calmed down. It was nice and sunny, and it was just a beautiful day. But this is like the gray wind is kind of what I expect at Lake Shetek State Park ever since my first camp trip here. So I do like it. So that gate blocks off this road. I don't know if it's when it's open. And I don't know if there's parking up here, which there might be. There's another section of private property up here. We're down here right now. We're gonna curve around and go up. I always point this out. I always find it weird how there's like these gerrymandered district-shaped pieces of private properties peppered throughout state parks in kind of odd locations. Sure, there's kind of a backstory to all of them. To be honest, they kind of creep me out because I can only picture a high probability of a bitter scenario. Usually that's the case with land. So anybody who's still there, they might not be major fans of the fact that they are surrounded by a state park, and for lack of a friendlier word, a litany of dunces is constantly around them, and for whatever reason they still have this piece of private property. So all that being said, I kind of try to stay away from them, even though a lot of trails, they'll literally go right through. You're just surrounded by private property, and for some reason there's a trail that goes right through it. It's on the map and everything. And so maybe it has something to do with a road being a right-of-way or something like that, some kind of a loophole. If you're one of the 12 people that check these videos out, you're probably aware that I'm not a big fan of hiking on roads. So I'm not super happy right now. It's not that big of a deal. It's okay. But I want to see this elusive Webster Island. That camp I had last night at the Park Lake Garden campsite. Wow, that's got to be my top 10 list of favorite campsites out of like 130 camp trips. That is a precious gem. Oh good, we got a map up here, a bigger map. I can kind of point things out. this hike is probably not going to be as miraculous and spectacular as the Grand Portage State Park, given the environment and the time and the season and the weather. Everything kind of worked out on that one. Kind of hit the sweet spot. But again, I like Lake Shetek. I always look at it as kind of like a gray, windy, desolate beauty on the prairie in southwestern Minnesota. So down here just goes to this private property, gerrymandered district. Then there's this piece up here where there's no private property. In between, sandwiched between two pieces of private property. It's insane. Okay, so we are right here. And we're gonna check out Webster Island Trail. I don't see it on the map here, but on this other map, they call this the Webster Slough. Well, they call it the Webster Marsh on here, so that's indicative of an older map. But the Avenza map is different than the physical map in person. So this is an older map. I can kind of tell by the font too. I've seen these style maps before. So the plan today is, we just started here and went up here. We're gonna check this out, then we're gonna backtrack. We're going to go on the Bluebird Trail. And from there, we're going to cross the, I believe this is the entrance road right here. We're going to go along here. And then from here, we're going to go up, check out the Shetek Monument. And then we're going to go into the camping area here, where I'm going to complete my scouts of various camp spots. So I'll cut the hike there, and then I'll edit back in the remainder of the hike, which will teleport over here, Park Lake Trail, and then we'll finish up. So on our way back, after we're done backtracking, there's an observation point. We're gonna see if we can check that out here. This is observation trail, so we'll see if we can check that out real quick, and then we'll pop on Bluebird. And this is my first trip in my winter pants, which are just 2 inches bigger around the waist, but same length. Got some white-tailed deer. It's really unfortunate that people murder those creatures. I know that's a vegan sissy talk, but it just really is. I kind of wish it was allowed that if you hunt creatures like white-tailed deer, just helpless creatures compared to a human, then it should also be allowed that other humans can hunt you while you're hunting. I think that'd be extraordinarily fair and interesting. But that's just crazy talk. are already kind of on it, and I didn't really notice. It's the Webster Slough over here. So I'm definitely getting warmer. I'm feeling sweat starting to build up. You know, it's chilly and windy out. I might have to remove my base layer. And I just keep the balaclava on, and of course the tank. So I'll probably do that on this bench here. I have the opportunity here to set stuff down. Kind of had a late fall this year. Everything was really warm. Almost had like an extended month of summer. So I'm kind of hoping we'll have an extended October. So November will be more of an late October type of situation rather than an early November situation. You got the sweat buildup. That's not good. So I'm not going to roll that up, otherwise it'll just lock in the moisture, and it'll have a harder time to evaporate. And then the bacteria will coagulate, and it'll slowly developing an odor, which is one aspect of life I just can't stand, amongst others. I think the cons outweigh the pros, though, when it comes to living in this carnal realm. I know it sounded like I'm from Ibiza when I say stuff like that, but I'm not. Or Ibiza. Never pronounce Ibiza, Ibiza. Ooh, okay. That's like a party island somewhere. They play techno and everyone's stupid. It's like modern hippie island or something. All right, I'm gonna do this too. We're gonna cut. Ah, that's better. Okay, 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 okay. Yeah, I feel great. And I'll still sweat on my back. It's just informative stuff. If you never hiked before and you want to get into it, just stuff and take note of. Webster Slough. Why not? Why not? So this is probably 1/5 the size, maybe 1/10 the size actually of Loon Island. And the causeway leading up to Loon Island is just, it's pretty cool. So you should check out my hike of that, Lake Shetek, April 2024. On we march. So last night when I was camping, I could have swore I heard a human walking right outside my tent. And that's like the first time that ever happened to me, where I swore there was for sure a human being within feet of my tent. And there was a lot of wildlife, there was a lot of animals, but just the way it walked. So I'm thinking it was somebody who lives over in that small piece of private property. And just when I was in the moment, and I was very aware that something's going down, instinctually I felt like middle-aged male, maybe 6'2", mental troubles. That's kind of what I kind of felt. And then from that my mind jumped to possibly lives in that piece of private property. We got that wind picking up. Yeah, it looks a lot like that day I was here hiking last year. When I was going up that causeway to Loon Island, that wind is really, really crazy on that causeway. You're just right in the open. And during that hike, I also found a cool little case on the trail. It's like a nylon case for something. And it just happens to perfectly fit one of my body cams. So it's a nice little body cam case. It's kind of cool. All right, so that was extraordinarily shorter than I was expecting. And there's no parking over here, and you have to walk up the road to get here. So I would not recommend this trail if you come here. Still cool to have it though. Another place to explore. might be really cool, just an idea, if they did like a Webster Island group camp. But I'm sure the people that live around here wouldn't like that. Okay, so now we're gonna backtrack and we're gonna head over to the Bluebird Trail, which starts where we started off originally. So I'll just jump to that. Just pull it in like halfway there. So off in the distance there you can see an outlook deck. I think we got a good opportunity to kind of see this walk from this perspective going this way. And there's a nice sound of the gravel. Another fun fact is Lake Shetek is the largest lake in the southwestern portion of Minnesota. Now that being said, it kind of pales in comparison to Mille Lacs and of course the almighty Red Lake. Those are like the landlocked lakes, the biggest landlocked lakes. Then you got Leech Lake, Lake Vermilion, Prince's favorite, Lake Minnetonka. I'm actually headed to Red Lake Nation next Friday, so 6 days from now on this date. I'm gonna go to Big Bog State Recreation Area, do a camp there on Halloween. I'm going to see if I can do a scout of the Big Bog campground and also maybe do a quick hike on the bog walk. And that would be the furthest destination I would have gone. Last week though, the record was taken by Grand Portage State Park and Judge C.R. Magny State Park for camping. But it will not hold the crown long if I'm allowed to go there, if life allows me, next week. And I heard a tale that there is some kind of someone told a story of there being a witch over in that area, over by the bog, Red Lake. If I remember correctly, the Big Bog State Recreation Area, which is one of 4 state recreation areas in Minnesota, and they're very similar to state parks. I lost my thought, but that's okay. Well, here we're approaching where we started at a weird private property over here. You got to keep out. So there's 2 gates here, so I don't know why there's a gate right here. Well, there's another road down there it might connect in as well. And this is the Wilderness 1 group camp. So I did a scout of that yesterday. You might want to check that out if you're interested. Just a fun little quick one. There's a vehicle heading this way, so we might interact with a warden here. But that's the Webster Island hiking trail. So now we will continue on to the Bluebird Trail. And that is straight ahead. That open area straight ahead. That's the Bluebird Trail. CLN 444. CLN 444. Charlie Lima Nancy 444. Charlie Lima Nancy 444. And ironically, when you see 444, that's kind of a numerology where there's an angel's watching over you. That guy's headed into the Park Lake parking area, the Park Lake campsite parking area. And that's where my vehicle is. I do have 4 dash cams, multiple angles running. I still don't like it. But as some knucklehead said to me in a comment once in all caps, "You're just paranoid. That's paranoia. Bye bye." He's coming back. Okay, so here we go. Webster Island Trail, we just did that. Came back. Group camp's right over there. That's this icon here. And now we're gonna go down the Bluebird Trail. And we're gonna check out the observation trail real quick and then pop back on here. And I also want to call out this weird, there's another place where there's like a piece of private property where you can't even connect this trail here. That's how weird it is. It's like, seriously? So that's just strange. But anyways, we're gonna go down this Bluebird Trail. And that guy came back, so I'm happy. Got some activity over here. That guy had a real stoic look about him. I give him a 70% good guy, 30% dark side. For what it's worth. Oh yeah, so when I drove in here yesterday, I showed that there's parking over there. And initially I thought that that's where you'd have to park for the group camp and the Park Lake campsite. Fortunately, they have parking right near them. The area we just walked away from, but this is probably where you would park for the observation deck over here. It's a small little parking area. If I remember correctly, you can fit maybe 5 vehicles. It would be nice if they had something like that by the Webster Island Trail, but that's kind of such a small trail and there's not a lot of area around there to, on a practical level, to put any parking. And there's private property around there, so it's probably best just to leave it a hike through the road. So we will not need to take the observation deck trail because that's just to get from that parking area. So that's cool. We don't have to backtrack. We can go right to the deck here. There's some kind of telescope up there too. Oh wow, nice, very nice. Kind of bad. I don't like hikes. I like hikes. I don't like heights. But the trick to heights is just don't look down and you're good. So this you can turn it kind of like a pair of binos or binoculars for the layman. It's a very little hole and it's hard to look into with glasses on. I'm gonna see how effective it is with the glasses off. And this thing's amazing. It works very well. Very well. Alright, so I took a bunch of them. Most of them are bad, but I'm probably going to get maybe one or two that are decent. Gonna give you an idea of what I saw in there. I just had it looking right at the lake there, which you probably know now. Really cool. I'm going to refrain from the literature because it's a little bit beat up. I can get this one though. This wind is pretty fierce. I've been in worse, of course, but yeah. Oh, it's not so bad where I actually have to hunker down my hat. These clouds are making that cool formation. I forget the name of those particular types of clouds. Hopefully they keep developing like that throughout the day. Alright, so I officially like this observation deck. Now let's see here if I can find a way to be a good Samaritan without screwing myself over. How dare that bird do that? I'm assuming it was a bird. Alright, better than it was. Alright, on we march. On the Bluebird Trail. I'm really glad I was able to get back here this year. I didn't think it was going to happen, but I've been camping every weekend. Wow, since like April. I'm just crushing. And I don't want to camp at one state park more than once during the year just because there's so many options. So my options are dwindling, and this park came up, and it was just kind of at the bottom of the barrel because I'd already been here recently, and I did do a scout of it, of the campground, but that's more of a personal copy. It's not one I'm going to publish. So I was thinking I had nothing else going on in the area, so I could weasel in some more individualized scouts for each of the camp areas and then do this hike. I even did a video in the campsite of assembling the cold weather kit for the Cipher-Tu tent. And just perfect conditions for that. The wind was tame, the sun was out. We were by the lake, the temperature was perfect. That really nice view. It's a drab beauty. Over the years, I've really developed more of an appreciation for things that don't pop in color. Things that are kind of more drabby. Just kind of because of the gilly stuff here. Kind of blends in better with the surroundings. But one thing that I found that's kind of irritating, amongst other things of course, when I'm hiking is people are wearing these like extraordinarily unnatural and poppy colors. And poppy meaning they pop out. It's like you got the neon pink, the neon green, bright blues, you know, stuff like that. Or the pink, that's great. But not everyone goes out all the time like I do. But it's just kind of annoying. There's some parts where you're just in this beautiful spot and everything's just coming together, and then there's a big fat piece of pink in the middle. It's just weird. I'm not really complaining about society, I'm just talking about it as a form of catharsis. So if you think I'm complaining, don't be so pessimistic. Be more optimistic as far as what I'm talking about. Have empathy. Have more diverse views. I'm getting a lot of similar vibes as I did in my first hike of the year at Afton State Park, which is really cold and gray, and it was kind of a miserable one, to be honest. I mean, as far as hikes go. But that was like my first one of this year. I was trying to scout the hike-in campsite, but I was betrayed by the graphical user interface on the website in the browser, because it positioned it in a totally different area of the park. But I did research and I ended up finding the true location, and I went back and scouted it, and I had my 100th camp trip there. Hike-in Site 1. I believe established by the Army Corps of Engineers in anybody responsible for making that campsite happen, I truly thank you for your service from the bottom of my heart. And ironically, kind of on a memetics level, the site I camped at last night, the Park Lake Garden site here at Lake Shetek State Park, is of a similar value in my heart. It looks very recent. The sign is new. They had a porta potty instead of a vault toilet, and I prefer a vault toilet. But I mean, big deal is that they don't offer firewood here. But the hiking site one at Athens State Park, they have a treasure trove of bundled firewood, just like you'd buy it like a grocery store or gas station. And you can pay for it with your Avenza Maps app, I believe. No, not Avenza, it's another one. I can't think of the name off the top now, but you can also use that to buy permits and stuff. Or you can do what I did, because I couldn't get it to work. I just paid for it the next morning when I headed out, and the warden station, or the ranger station. And out of all the campsites at Athens State Park, and I've looked at every single one, that, in my opinion, that is the best one as far as accessibility, convenience, space, beauty, privacy. It is outstanding. But you're gonna have to hike in to get there. But you don't have to bring wood. Very straightforward trail. So we might be approaching the road here. We are in Currie, Minnesota, by the way, and I have had a pretty strong cell phone service signal the whole time I've been here. Alright, so we are approaching the Casey Jones State Trail, parenthetical Currie Loop. And this doesn't turn on the map here. There's no turning here. So here we're turning off, and we're veering away from the trail that's on this map. But this is the clear trail here. So here we got one of them situations, and this does not look like a trail. I mean, it's downed, but it doesn't look like it's cared for. So if I didn't have this map, I would have probably just kept going on that trail. So if it was the right time of year, it'd be ticks and snakes would kind of be the big thing on my mind walking through this. Snakes being more creepy, but ticks being more serious. We're still on the trail. It sure doesn't look like it, does it? This is very strange because this is the most recent updated map. I believe I actually literally just updated this map. They had a newer version of it recently and I updated it. Nothing. Look at this. So here's where we are on the map. We're right on the trail. Nothing. Just a fence. And there's some thickety stuff going on here. Yep, thickety. I got 2 layers on right now. A durable outer layer and a thermal layer for my legs. That should be enough to keep the thickets at bay. But there's some stuff going on here. And this might be a newer fence. This is definitely not a trail. So we're gonna go up here and so take note of that. I don't know if it's electrified or what. So this has got to be the Casey Jones Trail. All right, so it's closer opening over here. Oh, that's right. And I got to remember to try to get a better picture of the Lake Shetek State Park sign at the entry. I know I'm talking a lot on this one, but if you don't like that, I have a hike at Fort Ridgely State Park of this year, where I made it a point to not talk about 98% of the time. I don't really talk till towards the end. And it's a good long one. Covers some of my favorite areas of the park. There's actually, I know this might sound a little morbid, but there's a part of that park, I believe it's in the southwest corner, where I actually considered a candidate for having my ashes scattered. Now, if I do end up getting cremated, I wouldn't be surprised if the floaters in my eyes actually didn't get cremated. They just kind of stayed where they were, like they always do. Okay, so we broke on through to the other side, but there is a trail opening allegedly over here somewhere. So we follow this Casey Jones Trail. Should be down here somewhere. And then we go alongside Smith Lake over there. Yep, I do see a trail. So we're gonna head over there. This is kind of another bland hiking point. And again, I'm covering a different area of the park during this particular hike, but I did hike the Loon Island trail and over on that other side of the park. So that is where you're going to want to hike, in my opinion, if you hike at Lake Shetek State Park. It's more scenic. It's more trails than roads. But I got to see what this part of the park, these areas that I'm checking out, I had to see what they look like. A stop sign down there, you probably can't see. That might be where the entry point for the trail, right here too, where we cross over. corroborates on the map, but you'll notice that it's not like maintained at all. But it looks it's trafficked enough. So this part right here, it's not identical, but it reminds me of that part at Lake State Park in middle western Minnesota, where you go from the campground area to see the largest cottonwood tree in the state, I believe. It's kind of what it looks like. Very similar. I got a hike of that one too. I accidentally triggered the infrared on that one though, so it's like black and white. Still got some color pictures in there, I believe. That cottonwood tree is pretty magical. So I'm already liking this trail a lot. We're kind of back in hike mode now. Where we were, what we were doing is kind of hitchhiker mode. Kind of like that. I think I'm going to use it whenever I'm hiking on a road. I'll call it hitchhiker mode. This is Smith Lake. It's too small, but if it was bigger we could have walked right through from the other side. Oh. So it looks like it's about 11:33, 11:34. We are doing very good for time. I was guessing to be slightly after 12. haven't come uncuffed, or they haven't gone above my boot. I attribute that to the slightly larger winter pants. Even though they're the same length, I think the width of the legs is a little bit more. It might just be because there wasn't a lot of like steps or climbing on this hike so far. This is a lot of what the other side of the park, hiking on the other side of the park looks like, similar to this. We're right here. My plan is to go straight until we hit this intersection and take a right, but if we take a left and just go a little further, there's some kind of a monument down here on Smith Lake. So I think we're going to check that out because we got the time. One of my goals on this trip was to kind of take it easier, still be efficient, but not be rushed. I'd say we're about a half an hour ahead of the game. The sun should set around 6, so I really don't care how late this goes. It won't go that late. I'm gonna cut this hike and then pick it up later while I go and do some scouting of some of the camp spots. Cardin campground, or campsites. I believe the Oakwoods campground, Sunrise campground, and then the Prairie campground. There's some cabins in there too. There's a Zuya group center, so I don't know. Might take a look at it. Not sure. I still don't know what group centers are or what they do, and I kind of like it that way. It's kind of interesting. Something nice about just staying ignorant about some things in life. So I think the state park sign is further away towards the entrance, so I'll have to remember to get a fresh picture of that before I head out, because yesterday was a little too dark. And it was kind of like that the last time I was here, so kind of being stubborn, I want a good picture of it. Looks like it's a monument in the distance over there. So that's the one we were going to be headed towards, but first we're gonna detour, check the other one out down there, and then we'll backtrack and then we'll head that way. Kind of looks like an obelisk. I'm pretty sure that that is a monument. Alright, so we're right here. And we're gonna go down here. We're gonna check out this monument over here somewhere. Over in here. So that's this way. And then we'll backtrack and then go this way. Now on our way here, I'm gonna ramble some more. When I was on my trip to this state park, I passed something called the Jeffers petroglyphs. It's about 45 minutes from here. It looks like it's in Jeffers, Minnesota. Kind of see the route here. It's always kind of intriguing whenever I drive past that. I'm kind of intrigued. So I might make the time to check it out one day, but just want to call that out. You might be interested in checking out the Jeffers petroglyphs. About 40 minutes away from here. 40 minutes east of here. Pretty much directly east. It's not northeast or southeast. It's pretty much directly east. We are in Murray County, obviously. Looks like a lot of choices over here. Make sure we stay en route. So this private property right here on this chunk. And there's private property over here on another piece. Oh, there's a tragedy here. Smith Lake. Oh, slaughter slough. Wow. Henry Smith Cabin. There's Smith Lake. We're on the Smith Trail. 2 miles east of here. Wow. Yeah, Slaughter Slough. Wow, 11 minutes from here. So if you're interested in checking out Slaughter Slough, might be a little morbid, but that might be a cool Halloween camp. But there's no backpack site there or anything. All right, let's press on. You know, there's an artist called Matman B, and he has an album called Fly Butterfly. And the first track on that song, called You'll Leave the Town, for me personally, that's the theme song for Lake Shetek State Park. And I absolutely love that song, but it's kind of like a stoner rock type of genre. So Matman B, Fly Butterfly, You'll Leave the Town. If you got a chance and you're here, maybe if you're driving in here or you're driving away from here, or you got some headphones on and you're camping, oh, there's no one around you and you can play it low, you should play that song when you're here. Matman B from the album Fly Butterfly, song You'll Leave the Town. Okay, so it says the monument is right in here. I've been seeing these signs all throughout the park. It looks like they're updating a lot of exhibits, and I'm thinking maybe this might be a bust This might be where the monument is supposed to go. I don't see it here, so this is essentially the location on the map. It calls out right here. Alright, that's okay. It's kind of a bust, but so we're gonna backtrack. Well, we're gonna backtrack on this paved road that ran parallel to the trail that we were on. So we get a slightly different experience. And you don't see the monument on this map either, but you do see it on the Avenza Maps app here. So it's possible they were presumptuous in including this icon on this map, or we're just literally at a point in time when there's just kind of an interim of updating. This dotted line is bike and hike, so we're going to take the bike hike trail that runs parallel to the trail that we were just on. And sometimes I'll rate the level of difficulty for hikes, and I'll start off level 1 out of 10, level 1 being the easiest. This is basically it, a paved road in the city kind of thing, straight, no hills. Some hills maybe, but right here, this is as easy as it gets. It's kind of the base. And the one we were just on, I'd probably put that at a 2. Maybe slightly, you know, 2 and a decimal. Every trail here has been in the 2s so far. As far as a difficulty level being, they're very easy. I guess the biggest concern with hiking here would probably be the wind. It can get pretty windy off Lake Shetek, especially that causeway to Loon Island, which is by far my #1 recommended hike here, the Loon Island hike. If you hike over there from the main campgrounds, might take you 10 minutes to get there, 15 maybe. And then the hike itself, maybe 30 minutes. So a decent hour from a campground, unless you're in the Wilderness 1 group camp or the Park Lake Cardin campsite. Those are a little further back. You probably just come from a different direction. But still, that'd probably be a 20-minute hike, maybe 25-minute to Loon Island. So being that there was a history of tragedy here, kind of reminds me of Monson Lake State Park, where there's tragedy there as well, some kind of settler massacres. I mean, allegedly nobody was there who's alive now. No one actually saw it. This is information passed down over generations. Anyone who's played the telephone game knows that after about the 2nd or 3rd person, things start to get a little different. You don't know who's writing the history books. You don't know who's telling the stories. And even me, like when I'm editing footage of situations I've been in with the body cam, oftentimes I'll notice things like this isn't really what I remembered. So you can't really, there's always an allegedly after all history. After his story, there's always an allegedly. Another chunk of wisdom I kind of picked up recently from someone was, if you live in the past and you're nostalgic, that makes you sad. If you live in the future, you have anxiety and you're fearful. That's why you must try to live in the present, the here and now. That keeps you balanced. Still, it's good to have a history and stories. But you can't really hold everything as 100% true in your heart, where you're not currently in it right now. You can try to remember, you can try to emphasize. There's a really high probability it will never be 100% of what it truly is, was, or will be. Except for maybe the is. Even then, being in the moment, copy. Looks like there's a lot of activity coming from one of the pieces of gerrymandered private property within this state park. Interesting. So I would not recommend a hike on this part of the park either. But it's still a nice walk. It's been nice and quiet. Really no city sounds. There's an aggressive amount of activity on this road though. I guess it's a county road, I guess. Okay, so we're almost complete with another backtrack. We just did a little bit of a bike trail, which is not common for me. I'm not a big fan of bikers, so I try to avoid wherever they are. I accidentally hiked a trail once. I think it was mainly a bike trail, but I guess it allows hiking, and oh man, it was so irritating. You're just surrounded in this beautiful nature, and just every 20 seconds just people just whizzing by. So annoying. It's like, just go back to your home office. Oh man. And I hate when like you're just walking, minding your own business, and someone yells out from behind you, to your left, to your right. It's like, just shut up and get it right, okay? Just know where you're going. You can see me, I can't see you. Just know where you're going. So, I could cross over here. Ooh. And there's kind of like a manure-y smell in the air at this state park. It did go away for a little while last night, and it's picking up in the day, so I think the sun may exacerbate the odor, and then the wind dictates who gets to be treated with it. Okay, so this is an official legit monument, kind of like at Fort Ridgely State Park. It has similar vibes. That's pretty cool. Okay, they're updating this exhibit. The Lake Shetek Indian Massacre, August 20th, 1862. That's not going to come up well. Oh well. Try to get the slain. Yeah, I'm gonna try to get a better shot because I'm greedy. I'm gonna face it away from the sun. Ah, that's more relaxing. Yeah, it's like Fort Ridgely. So we walked a little over 3 miles so far. And we are now on the Monument Trail. I didn't call out very heavily earlier that we were on the Smith Lake Trail. And if we continued down that trail, we would have been on the east, or the Smith Lake East Trail. So now we are on the Monument Trail, and this will take us to the campground vicinity where I'm going to complete my scouting of the campsites there. And then when that's complete, we're going to pick this hike back up I'm gonna cut those out, of course, and do separate ones for that, but so when we get here to the carton area, I'm gonna cut. I'm gonna scout this whole area, and then when that's done, we're gonna pick back up on the Park Lake Trail over here near where we started, and that'll just be another 10 minutes, and we'll wrap it up. I think this is it here. This is Lake Shetek itself. Yeah, it looks like we're a bit past peak season for fall here in the distance. Little colors up front in the foreground. But now we got that drab color going. I did mention earlier I don't like poppy colors or colors that pop out on clothing, but that same statement is not true regarding leaves. Just to clarify. Usually though, the different colors of leaves, those aren't the same kind of colors that I see people wearing that really stand out, like the neon type colors. But if they were like oranges and yellows and reds, it's really the pinks and the neon greens and the blues. Just kind of get in the way. It just looks weird. There's some peak color leaves in the distance. Oh, there's a ranger station. Ta-da! that Lake Shetek wind kicking in. As for difficulty here, this is probably a 2.5 out of 10. We're getting a little bit more rooty, a little less even. Declining, incline, decline. And the wind as well. This is still a very open and wide trail. This looks like a cardin site. All right, so it is. So I'm gonna take a break here, and then we're gonna cut the hike here, and then we're gonna pop back up on the Park Lake Trail right here. So we're gonna teleport from here to here, right about now. All right, we're actually going to be not over here, but we're actually going to be over here on the Zuya Trail. Here, we're going to start here from the Prairie Campground. I just finished my scout there, and it was kind of depressing, but that's okay. So we're going to go on the Zuya Trail, and then we're going to connect with where I said we were going to go over here, and then finish it up. But I figured it was a good opportunity to show this trail rather than let it go to waste. I got a lot of scouts in. That's our last cut it. And there really weren't any campsites that interested me on any of those. But I still got them documented so I can make a choice in the future. So this is the Zuya Group Center. I don't know what these are or what they do, but yeah, here it is. Okay, good. So there's a Zuya trail, so we won't have to take a road. We can stay on the Zuya trail here. And that's the Sunrise Campground over there. Prairie Campground's back there where we came from. There's maybe one site in the Sunrise Campground. So I'll keep that one in my back pocket, but that campground is not really for my style of camping. However, they do have something there that I've never seen before. And in the middle of the campground, there's like a vault toilet structure for 2 vault toilets. However, and I think this is due to the plumbing and the water, every site having its own water, they actually have real flushable toilets, 2 of them. I can't believe that. I've never even seen that before. And one of them had a plunger, like a courtesy plunger in there, so maybe it was a bad idea. Maybe they should just left the open bowl. Here's this sign again we saw earlier. It looks like it's inverted in colors. Yeah, so it's a pretty good day. Feel nice and breezy. Maintain a good body temperature the whole time. And as far as this hike goes, every place that we hiked is pretty much I've never seen before here. That's pretty cool. Real glad I got a chance to get back here this year. I got them scouts into the campsites too. It looks like I got every single one of them. My greed has been satiated, and information that's useful will be provided. And trust me, when it comes to that prairie campground, I'm sure at least 2 out of the 12 people that see this will be very appreciative. That's the weirdest, most knuckleheaded layout for a campground I've ever seen, and I've seen a lot of them. That one made no sense at all. I should actually call up management and tell them that they need to backpedal that and they need to redo that, because it is ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. Alright, so now we're overlapping on an area that I've been on my first hike here in April of 2024. Now that hike went from here, up in here, over here, and then down here, and then here, and back to camp. So I was coming from this direction, going that way. So that was towards the end of my hike. And ironically, we are going the other way, and we are still towards the end of this hike. That's magical. Looks like the same day too. Might be less windy and a little warmer. Probably 10 degrees warmer. Maybe 15. And maybe 5 to 10 miles less windy. That was a pretty crazy day. Full of really nice colors. Oh, this kind of reminds me of Fruity Pebbles. Oh, now I'm gonna need to get some again. Once I eat Fruity Pebbles, then I gotta eat the Cocoa Pebbles, and it's just kind of a vicious cycle. Or I think the cheap malto meal version is Dino Bites. They should just call them Pieces. Cocoa Pieces and Fruit Pieces. Let's see what kind of birds the Merlin Bird ID app can identify here. Hasn't found my location for some reason. I've had good cell service here the whole time. We got a song sparrow and an American robin. I think that the American robin is what flew in front of us a second ago. Oh wow. I'm gonna try to catch this. That was one of those red-headed black and white woodpeckers. I couldn't zoom in enough though. Yeah, lots of birds around here. So after those scouts and up till now, we're at about 7 miles of hiking. I'm feeling pretty good. I had one break after we cut it before I did the scouts, like a 7-minute break. And then when I was walking away from that break, I got barked at by a rude dog, which I wasn't recording that, but I essentially barked back at him with my hands clapping, and the owners just kept going forward. They didn't look back because they knew they're knuckleheads, and so was their dog. It's okay to have dogs that don't bark, guys, okay? It's okay to, and it's okay if people get upset for being barked at too. It's very natural. It's very stressful to get barked at. So don't get bitter when someone says they don't like when your dog barks at them, because it is stressful and it's rude. All right, there's Park Lake right there. Fish rearing pond. We just also passed the other side, fish rearing pond. And that trail we walked past was the fish pond trail. This is the area I came out of, I believe, when I did my hike in April of 2024. Nope, it was right here. That's the lakeside trail right here. And we camped just on the other side of this lake last night. One of the best campsites I've ever camped at, the Park Lake Garden site. They kind of overreacted a little bit. They could have just sat there and that would have been fine. Fish rearing pond. There's the park warden in the distance. They're probably going to check on my site. Yeah, reserving that Park Lake Garden campsite, that's going down with one of the best decisions I made all year. Another one was the Labor Day weekend, shifting from the Schoolcraft reservation I had at Schoolcraft State Park to the group camp at Savannah Portage State Park, GC1, Group Camp 1. I had to pay for it, but that was the first group camp I've ever camped at, because I always camp alone, you know, but being a Labor Day weekend, and I couldn't get a peaceful camp, you know. I just said screw it and went for it. And on the other side of the ranger station over here, and that is a phenomenal group camp site. And it looks like it's the only one at Savannah Portage State Park, which is weird because Savannah Portage State Park is like the third largest state park in Minnesota, something like that, third, fourth, or fifth. So a lot of land area. But that is a really cool group camp. I have a scout of that as well. You should check that out if you're interested. I show the drive into it from the beginning of the park up to it. We walk around and look at everything, and do a little bit of the little footage of the morning after the camp too. Show the morning. That's not the warden. I thought for sure that was the warden. Okay, so here's the entry point to the Park Lake Trail. And there's supposedly a monument on the way here. While we're on it, there's a monument like right in here. We'll see, but we're heading up here and then we're going to close it out. person in that truck might work here. They just kind of pulled over and it looks like they're doing something over there. That's Park Lake. There should be a monument to our right here in just a little bit. Huh. Must be in here in the sunken spot. That's the Bluebird Trail we were on earlier. There's the outlook from earlier. Oh, good. I was hoping that they were going to say this. All right. Okay. So this is some kind of monument here also, allegedly. Well, that's kind of irritating, but oh well. So something happened here. You know, all the time they spent messing up the prairie campground, they could have updated all those all that literature. I'm sorry, but it's so true. Like oh man. That looks like the vault toilet for the group camp. Alright, so we're going to wrap this hike up. Thanks for taking a look. Hope you're able to see some stuff you wanted to see. Hope I help keep you company maybe. Alright, so I'm going to head out, and then the next thing from here planned is Big Bog State Recreation Area and Halloween. We'll see what happens. I appreciate your time. Take care.